Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to talk about the Elemental Shaman single button guide. I've been excited for recording this one here because I've just finished all the tanks and all the healers, and now we are going to start with all the DPSs. And of course the first one is going to be Elemental Shaman because that has definitely been the most requested one. The Frost Death Knight is probably the second most requested one, but still Elemental Shaman Frost Death Knight was very requested. So now we're going to go with Elemental Shaman, and I'm excited for this one here. So in this video, we're going to be talking about the intro, the stats, the talents, the rotation, and gameplay. In the end of the video, I'm going to be playing like a 10-minute video for you where you're going to see me walk through a dungeon, doing top damage with a single button, with no problem, blah, blah, blah. You know, just basically showing you how to play this spec. If you have seen my other videos, the one with the tank builds, the healer builds, there's a lot of like things you have to use all the time beside of like the single button rotation to like survive, sustain, to heal, so on. But it's kind of different with the DPS specs because everything, like you have like 10-20 spells that is packed into the single button rotation, because of course this button here was mainly built for the DPSs, so you could literally just have the single button and you don't need anything else. But that's not going to be the video. We, of course, still going to be talking about all the other spells you need to use to help your team if you want to do mythic dungeons. When I did my when I did my healer videos, I said that I maybe not recommend this for mythic dungeons. This build here can easily be used in mythic dungeons and raid. Don't worry, you're still going to be doing really great DPS. You're going to be doing like 10 to 20% less damage than someone who's really doing a perfect job at the rotation. So you can imagine if you're not anyway like me, like a casual one that probably wouldn't do a perfect rotation, this button might actually end up doing more damage than what you actually have done without this add-on button here. Even though they punish you with a 25% global cooldown, but still, I think the single button rotation deals more damage than what I personally would have done anyway. So casual gamer that, you know. But let's get to the video and let's move on to the stats. So basically when we talk about stats, first of all, of course we need intellect. Why I say that is because I recommend you to always go with the highest eye level. So basically intellect is the stat we have that is scaling the highest with no matter what. Like intellect is just always a safe thing to do. Again, we're casual, like I'm casual, I like to play this game casual. That's why intellect is just such a safe thing to go with. So my opinion, recommendation, whatever, is going to be go with the highest eye level. Then when you have a situation where you now have two items that is the same eye level, they're both like champion, adventure, mythic, heroic items, then now you need to pick, okay, what secondary stats should they have? If you ask the meta, the pro players, they all want to go with mastery. If you ask me for the single button rotation, I would say haste. So basically, mastery is increasing a passive we have. If we go out of this nice preview here, you can see here we have a passive spell here called Mastery Elemental Overload. Basically what happens is mastery increases all elemental and physical damage, but also your Lightning Bolt, Tempest, Ice Fury, Lava Burst, and Chain Lightning cast have a 24% chance to trigger a second cast on the same target, dealing 35% of the normal damage, and generating less Maelstrom. So basically this means that every time you cast one of these spells that I mentioned here, there's a 24% chance for it to trigger an additional time for less damage. Of course, that sounds pretty nice, right? So every time you like, you know, you use like every time you use like one of those spells in the list there's a chance that it will like kind of like double cast it and for a little bit less damage, which is what most of the pros, all the meta players, they are going with. As you can see up here, they are all going first with mastery. Haste is also really good because basically what haste is doing is it speeds up your cast time, it lowers global cooldown and keep flame shock ticking faster. It also makes the single button rotation smoother. So basically when we play with the single button rotation, we have a 25% penalty debuff, kind of like with the global cooldown. So every time you cast a spell, I think the global cooldown is something where between 1 to 1.5 seconds, I can remember. So every time you use a spell, you have to wait 1.5 seconds, something like that, before you can use another spell. The single bottom rotation adds a 25% additional on top of that, but we can kind of counter it if we go with more haste, because the haste is reducing global cooldown, so we can kind of get out without it. But in the end, I would say haste and mastery are both a very solid stat for elemental shaman, so go with, go with whatever you want. Take mastery, take haste. Every time you find an item that has higher eye level, and you get something that has the same eye level as the item you already have, then just pick the one that either have haste. Of course, the best scenario would be an item that has haste and mastery, but else just pick one that at least has haste or mastery as least. So yeah, always try to get haste and mastery, I would say, no matter what. Beside of that, we all agree that crit is the second worst, and the versatility is the worst. Versatility is fine. It deals it just increases flat the damage you deal, the healing you deal, and you take less damage back. So for example, if you have 10% versatility, you deal 10% increased damage, and you take 5% less damage. It's very directly flat damage input, damage output. That's it. Crit, on the other hand, is increasing the chance our spells to do critical strike, but since our lava burst is always critting, when you have flame shock applied to a target, which I will come back to in the rotation, then automatically lava burst is always critting, which of course makes crit a little bit less worthfully. I saw some people saying that crit from elemental shamans can increase the damage, but I couldn't find any sources on it. But let me know in the comments if you know more about this. But still, no one really wants crit and versatility. Of course, they still fine stats. They can still be used. So if you find a high eye level and you're gonna say goodbye to haste and mastery, not a problem, because the high intellect is still more important. And then you're gonna live with crit and versatility. It's fine, because we always want the highest eye level, in my opinion. But yeah. That's the stats. Let's move to talents. All right, let's talk about talents. So talents is a bit different. If you have seen my previous videos where I talk about single bottom tank and healing, for those we have kind of made our own builds which works best with the single bottom rotation. But since the single bottom rotation was originally created for DPS players, it actually works really well with all the meta builds you would find on different websites. This here, for example, what you see here in the middle and what you see in the right side is basically used by almost, I would guess, what it looked like when I looked through it, most of the elemental shamans on right now. Where the left side here is a bit differently. I have changed some of the few stuff that I like better compared to what the other ones had. But this is pretty cool, because the single bottom rotation for DPS player basically means that meta specs are actually quite good, because it uses all the spells. As you can see here, the single bottom rotation uses a lot of spells compared to some of the tank and healer specs. So it's okay. It's okay. You can use meta builds in case you want. But again, I have taken some of the most popular meta build and then modified it a little bit here in the left side. But in the right side here in the middle, it's basically what everyone else is using. But let's talk about what the highlight with this build is and what is actually getting a lot of damage from it. First of all, we have Elemental Blast at the top. It's a very nice 1.7 cast time spell that basically deals 800k damage instantly, and it has a chance to give you either 7% crit or haste, and as you know, we like haste, but also has a chance to give you 14% mastery, which is also nice. It kind of gives you one of those free stats randomly, which one get popped off. But it's nice, and if you have spells like Nature Swiftness, you can actually start by using Nature Swiftness, and it will actually use this one here on your Nature Swiftness, so it gets instant cast. But we're going to go back to when we talk about the rotation and next step, we're going to talk about that. Beside of that, we have our Storm Elemental. Storm Elemental is very nice. It basically deals damage for us in 20 seconds, and it has only a 2.5 minute cooldown. It's also included in the single button rotation, so you don't have to worry about it or have it down on your key bindings. It will automatically be cast. Of course, some people would say this is a bit annoying because maybe you want to save it for the boss, but it's just going to use it whenever it wants. So we can control that. Beside of that, we have more crit damage than other classes. Normally you have 200% crit damage, but we have 275, which is pretty cool. We also have Stormkeeper, which in 9 out of 10 times, it kind of want to start with use that. It normally with the rotation with a single button, it always want to start with Stormkeeper. Basically what happens is the next two lightning bolts deals 150%, but 150% more damage, but also causing your lightning bolt and chain lightning to be instant. And it will also trigger an elemental overload on every target. So basically, as we talked about as the stats, we have this one here called Elemental Overload, where it has a chance based on your mastery to deal additional, like, for example, every time you cast a lightning ball, it has a chance to like throw an additional lightning ball. But this one here is making sure that it will do it, like it will no matter what do it, to be instant cast and trigger an elemental overload on every target. So that of course means if you're casting chain lightning, it's going to be casting a lot of chain lightning. It's basically going to be beaming the entire thing. It's super cool. It will automatically switch between lightning ball and chain lightning depending on how many targets there is. It automatically knows if there's like 5 targets or 1 target, and it will use automatically either lightning ball or chain lightning, so you don't have to worry about that. Beside of that, we of course have Ascendance, which is a super cool spell. When you use Ascendance, it basically explodes for 18 seconds. Well, basically for 18 seconds you're going to have it on. But basically the moment you click on it, you are exploding and throwing 6 flame shocks and 6 lava bursts to the, like up to the 6 nearby enemies. So if you have like 6 nearby enemies on you, you're going to explode and throw flame shock on them and lava burst, which is pretty cool. Beside of that, it's also summoning like this is also summoning this elemental, this storm elemental, for like 4 seconds. I cannot find anywhere where it actually say something about that it's summoning it, but it does. It is something that the Stormbringer has. I can't find where it actually states that it's gonna do it, but it does. So yeah, just live with it. Whenever we use Ascendance, we're also summoning our elemental for 4 seconds, which is pretty cool. I mean, I'm not complaining. So basically, when you use this one here, again, you're exploding, you're casting Flame Shock and Lava Burst all around you, deals a lot of damage, boom. Beside of that, while Ascended is active, Elemental Overload damage is increased by 150, and spells afflicted by your mastery, Elemental Overload, cause 1 additional Elemental Overload. So basically, that means the Elemental Overload we have here is going to be increased by 150% damage. So now it's not going to be just, I guess, like right normally it deals 35% of the damage. So, you know, when you throw, for example, a lightning ball, and this one here happens, it throws an additional lightning ball for 35% of the damage. But now, with this one here, it basically increases that 35% damage with 150% damage. I don't know the math for that, but you can do it. But whatever it's gonna do, so it deals way more damage whenever like those extra spells comes out. But also it says Elemental Overload causes 1 additional Elemental Overload. So that means when you're casting a lightning ball and this happens, it's not gonna only cast 2 lightning balls, it's now gonna cast 3 lightning balls at the same time, which is quite overpowered. Really nice. Beside of that, we have this one here below, which is increasing your haste is increased by 20 while Ascendance is active, and its duration is increased by 3 seconds. And also we have this one here. Each Maelstrom spent has a 0.12% chance to activate Ascendance for 6 seconds. So think about it. We basically have the spell. We have the spell here called Earthquake, for example, which is using 60 Maelstrom. So if I take 60 and if I take 60 and basically say each of these 60 has a 0.12% chance to become, it makes us go into Ascendance. Every time you cast Earthquake, you basically have, if you put up the math, 7.2% chance to go into Ascendance. Whenever we use Elemental Blast, it's basically 90. And then with 0.12, it's basically 10% chance to go into Ascendance. So as you can see, we actually have quite big chances every time we use our Maelstrom to go into Ascendance again. And I know in some seasons or something, no one really used this one here, but now it's kind of like, what I see is kind of like meta thing now. So yeah, it's really well. Beside of this, we have another one over here that works super well with all this, because we have Primordial Wave, which basically blasts all targets affected by Flame Shock. And again, if you remember, Ascendance is basically throwing Flame Shock on everyone, or up to 6 nearby enemies. And it deals 800k damage right in the face on people who have Flame Shock on them. Very nice. Beside of that, we have Splintered Elementals. Now, Primordial Wave, which is this one here, automatically instantly gives us 10% haste. And as you know, when we talked about stats, we like haste. So just 10% increase haste for 12 seconds by using Primordial Wave. Very nice. And it only has a 30-second cooldown, which basically means you're going to have only like, what is that, like 18 seconds without this 10% haste active all the time from Primordial Wave. I mean, that's pretty sick. Beside of that, it says plus 4% for each additional target blasted by Primordial Wave. So the more targets that has, basically Flame Shock on them, so Primordial Wave is hitting more people, it basically gives you more haste, and it can increase your haste all the way up to 30. So basically, this one here, this spell here that has a 30-second cooldown could potentially give you 30% haste all the time for 12 seconds, which is quite insane when you think about that your Bloodlust is giving 30 as well. So yeah, pretty nice. But that's like the main things I want to talk about in the Elemental tree. We also do have like Earthquake that is automatically also being cast in our single bottle rotation. And Ice Fury, where casting Lightning Bolt, Tempest, Lava Burst, or Chain Lightning has a chance to replace your next Frost Shock with Ice Fury, which just deals a lot of damage and increases the next. Basically, when this happens, you can like run around because it's going to do a lot of like instant cast spells, but still. But that's like the main, I would say the main build, a lot about like getting passives up, a lot about like the Elemental Overload, and everything else here in the tree is just like passives you don't really have to think about because it's just like passives that's going to happen while you're using your single bottle rotation. In the middle here, we have something also really cool. So basically, every time we have Tempest here, every time you're using 300 Maelstrom, so every 300 Maelstrom spent replaces your next Lightning Bolt with Tempest. And basically, Tempest is a very strong spell that just instantly deals 600k damage and 400k damage to everyone around. Very nice. And you probably think, okay, 300 Maelstrom is quite a lot. Like, it's not going to happen very often. Well. So the thing is, we also have the last one down here. Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning have a chance to strike your target for 180k nature damage. So basically, imagine you're throwing a Lightning Bolt, and now it always have like a little chance to deal additional damage. Nice, okay, but what is the point? Why are you saying this? Because every 3 times this occurs, your next Lightning Bolt is replaced by a Tempest. Mind-blowing. So we get Tempest every time we throw now 300 Maelstrom. Well, every time we use 300 Maelstrom, but now also every time this one here procs 3 times. Okay, now it makes more sense. Now we actually get quite a lot of Tempest. But why is Tempest so good? I mean, it's just dealing like 600k damage plus 400k AoE. Why is it so good? Well. We also have Arc Discharge, which basically means Tempest causes your next 2 Chain Lightning or Lightning Bolts spells to be instant cast and deal 40% increased damage. Very nice. So now we have Stormkeeper, which is basically increasing our, makes our instant cast our Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning, but also increasing the damage of a Lightning Bolt. 2 instant cast over there. Now we also have Arc Discharge, which is also giving us instant cast here. And even better, with Stormkeeper, we also have this one here called Hero of the Storm, which is reducing the cooldown of Stormkeeper every time we're using Lightning Bolt, Tempest, or Chain Lightning. It's reducing it by 2 seconds, which is quite cool because you're going to be able to use a lot of Stormkeepers then. So very nice that basically we have 2 chances to keep getting Tempest. Every time Tempest come, we're gonna get free like instant cast Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning with 40% increased damage. And beside of that, just to put a little bit more on top of it, we also, you have Stormkeeper here, which you can use every minute, which is basically giving you all this cool stuff we talked about. This passive here, Rolling Thunder, is also giving you a stack, giving you a free Stormkeeper every 50 seconds. So every 50 seconds, you automatically get one of these stacks here from Stormkeeper. So basically that means when you go into combat and use Stormkeeper, you technically get 2 stacked Stormkeepers from this spell here, but this one here will also come every 50 seconds and give you another Stormkeeper, which is basically making your Lightning Ball, Chain Lightning, instant cast, and Lightning Ball deal 150% increased damage, which is quite cool. So yeah. Beside of that, yeah, you're gonna be like, oh, does he have more for us regarding talent? Yes, I have. We also have this one here, Supercharged, Lightning Ball, Tempest, and Chain Lightning have a 50% chance to cause an additional Elemental Overload. So sometimes you're gonna be like, why did my Lightning Ball just cast 3 times? Because of this one here. Lightning Ball, Tempest, and Chain Lightning have a 50% chance to cause an additionally overload. So that's why sometimes it's gonna be casting even more spells. Which makes, I think this one here can stack on top of this one here as well, which basically means you could technically cast 1 Lava Burst and it's going to be used 4 times, which is bananas. Now, to the left side. So the left side here is a lot of utilities. Like, you know, we got Chain Lightning, we got Lava Burst, we got some defenses, we got some passive. For example, we got Nature's Guardians, which is basically healing you every time you're getting below 35% health. It heals you for 20% of your maximum health. And it can happen every 45 seconds. Very, very nice. We also got like Wind Rush totems, which makes everyone run faster. We got Earth Elemental, which is very nice. For example, if the tank dies, you can use it, so it tanks for you. Also, it increases your maximum health by 15, and we have this one here, which basically makes all damage reduced you take by 5% whenever you have an elemental active, which of course both is Storm Elemental, but also Earth Elemental. We also have spells like Clean, so you can help the healers by removing cursors. We have Poison Cleansing Totems, which can remove, like, it actually removes all poisons. And also a Stone Bulwark Totem, which gives like an insane big shield. Also very nice. But also, you can see here an additional, gives like a very big shield. Beside of that, we also have, for example, Thunderstorm, which is an interrupt spell. We're going to talk about that in the rotation very soon. Basically helps you interrupting. We also got this Capacitator Totem, which is also going to be interrupting. Very good for Mythic Dungeons. We got Earth Shield, which is going to heal you. We got one so you can cast it also on your tank and yourself, which is pretty nice. And you can also have Lightning Shield active at the same time. But the 2 most important in here is Spirit Walker Grace and Nature Swiftness. Because Spirit Walker Grace basically allows you to cast all your spells while moving for 15 seconds. And also you move 20% faster. But basically, imagine you have a phase where Elemental Shamans is a lot about, like, we have a lot of casting spells. But basically now, we can, for 15 seconds, we can run around and follow the tank while casting spells. Very nice. But then we also have down here, your next healing or damage nature spell is instant cast and costs no mana. Which actually works on this one here, Elemental Blast. Because, for some reason it works on this one here, even though it says it's not a nature one. But it actually works on this one here as well. But it's pretty cool. So basically, yeah, it just like makes your next spell instant. I sometimes like to like use it just before I start pulling, because then automatically the single bottom rotation is going to use it automatically to just throw more spells out at the same time. Yeah. Also, Graceful Spirit, reducing the cooldown with Spirit Walker Grace by 30 seconds and increase your movement speed by 20. So that's why it only has a 1.5 minute cooldown. But in the end, a lot of like utilities and stuff like that. All the damage comes from over here and here. And over here is more like nice to have things that can help your team, like utilities and such on. But yeah, that is the talents. Let's move to rotation. So, talking about rotation. Again, as I mentioned in the talents, the single button rotation was mainly created for DPS players, so it basically has all the important things. Technically, you don't need to use anything outside of this button, but of course we still have all these spells out here, which is going to help. So you can easily use this spec here in Mythic Dungeons, raids, whatever, but people rely on you to still use your utilities. So if you want to like only press one, do looking for raid, do normal dungeons, heroic, time walking, no one's gonna care. But if you want to do mythic dungeons, you gotta start using your utilities as well, since they're gonna like help the entire team. First up, before you pull, cast Earth Shield on yourself, cast Lightning Shield on yourself. Lightning Shield is going to reduce all damage you take by 3%, which is quite nice. And also, Earth Shield is going to heal you. Also, throw Earth Shield on your tank, so that of course he gets a bit extra healing. If he, you know what I mean. Good. Then, we also have the buff called Sky Fury, which of course also needs to be casted on. When you cast it on yourself, you're going to be casting all your party members. But basically what it does is it increases mastery by 2, and all auto attacks have 20% chance to instantly strike again. This is only for melee. But at least we get 2% more mastery, which is pretty nice. Beside of that, the entire rotation for the Elemental Shaman with a single button rotation is actually just pressing 1. You're pressing 1, it will use Stormkeeper first, it will use your Elemental, and then it's just going to go through your entire rotation. Like, it is quite simple. And it deals quite a lot of damage. I don't have the best gear on this guy here, but I played a lot of Elemental Shaman in Season 1 and 2, so I know what I'm talking about. But basically, it just uses the rotation and whatever, like... And the cool thing is, it automatically knows whenever it's a single target, and it automatically knows when it's multiple targets. So for example, down here, you can see here, we got these, which is multiple targets. So now it automatically, you can see down there, it switched to Chain Lightning because it knows that there's multiple targets. And it uses Earthquake and stuff like that. And also here, it's going to use, like, again, multiple target spells. So this is pretty cool that it automatically knows if it should be using Cleave spells, AoE spells, or single target spells, so you don't have to worry about that. It's all included into the button. And you can see 3 million DPS because it just like uses so much like AoE abilities, which is pretty cool. So yeah, so default, you just press 1 and you're gonna be doing nice damage. I recommend downloading a damage meter add-on, like this one here called Details, because it's fun to see how much damage you do by pressing the 1. Now we're gonna talk about the real thing. So what about all the other spells I have here? When should we be using that one? So as a DPS, I would say it's a lot of people is relying on you to actually use interrupts. So whenever like the boss is about to cast something really harmful that can be interrupted, or a lot of the trash mobs is casting something that's very harmful as well and can be interrupted, they rely on you to interrupt. We have three different ways to actually interrupt. The first one is we got Wind Shear, which is this one here. I have number 2. You basically interrupt it. It's probably like the best one here because you can actually use it on bosses. So if you have a boss that is throwing something and you can see on it that you can actually interrupt it, then you're going to use that, like boom, and you're going to stop whatever like he's doing. That big explosion was from my cape. That was not from that spell. But basically you use number 2 and then you interrupt whatever they are casting. We also have Thunderstorm, which is basically making everyone jump up in the air and jump down again, because we have this talent here, which basically makes, instead of pushing them away, which everyone would be annoyed about, it pushes them up and pushes them down, like, you know, just like boom, boom. And it reduces the cooldown by 5. It's very nice that you both have an interruption on 2, and you have an AoE interruption on number 4. But that one doesn't work on bosses, that's only number 2. Number 4 is purely for trash mobs. So yeah. We also have this one here, Capacitator Totem, which is basically stunning them. So you can see it stuns them, then it summons another totem, and stuns again. That's because I have picked this one here called Guardian's Cudgel, which is basically whenever like my totem that is supposed to explode, Capacitator Totem, is disappearing for whatever reason, it creates another one. Pretty nice. I mean, everyone is going to like that you double stun them. So that's the 3 ways we can interrupt them, by basically AoE stun, AoE push up in the air, and then the normal interrupt that only has a 12-second cooldown. Yeah. Then we have Gust of Wind, fun spell. You could like jump to like get to another position, move out of AoE. If you're standing in fire, you can move away. You could jump from like a high destination to another high destination. If you jump down from something high, you can use it right before you touch the ground, so you don't touch the ground and survive. Yeah, nice fun spell. It's here. Pick it if you want, or you can also take Spirit Walk just if you want to move faster, but I would recommend taking Gust of Wind. It's a pretty cool spell. Just don't do it like this, because then you take damage. Besides that, we of course have Healing Surge, a healing spell that just heals. You can help your healer if you see someone is about to die and the healer's not seeing it, or he's busy with something else. Then you can help out with some healing. We also have Ghost Wolf. Doesn't do much, just makes us run faster, and we cannot get below 100% walk speed. So even if someone uses like a spell on you that makes you slow, wolves, like the wolf would still make you just like walk normally, like this normal speed. Then we also have cleans. Basically, it's a spell, like usually cleans is only something you pick from mythic dungeons. So if you're not good doing mythic dungeons, you could technically actually we cannot remove it because then we can take all these items down here. So just with Elemental Shamans, actually we cannot get rid of it. So you have to take it. But basically what it does, it is basically removes a curse. Remove all curse effects from a friendly target and has an 8-second cooldown. So if you see someone in your party frame has a curse on them, you can remove it from them, help the healer. So it's nice. Then we have Nature Swiftness. Again, Nature Swiftness just makes your next healing or damaging nature spell instant cast. Why I like it is because, for example, before you start using your rotation, you could just use it. Now you can see it's just waiting to be used. It has no time, it's just ready. So now when you use your rotation, you will see that Stormkeeper is using the first 2 charges, and then whatever you're casting after is used by Nature Swiftness. What happened this time here was that I think that was what happened, wasn't it? Yeah. Basically, we got Tempest from probably this effect here, or this one here. We got Tempest, and because Tempest is not instant cast by my other spells, so what happened was that my Tempest was instant cast by Nature Swiftness. So it basically just helped my rotation to go out faster and more smoothly. So again, it's just like a cooldown you can cast every minute to just help your rotation and casting out even more stuff instantly. You could also use it on the healing, but I mean, just use it with your rotation, so it just instantly goes in. We could probably use a macro for it. I mean, we could probably do something like SBA show tool tip cast single button assistant, and also cast Nature's Swiftness. Maybe we could do that. Let's see if that actually works. Nah, it actually doesn't work. Is it because I have spelled it wrong? Nature's could be because it has those funny marks. It might be because it has to be in front of it. Ah, yeah, now of course it's gonna show that spell there, but what you do to go without that is basically you write single button assistant in front of the show tooltip. Yeah, it still doesn't use it. Okay, I was just like thinking about it. Oh, it actually did. It did. So in this way we could technically remove it from our action bar and just like apply it into the rotation, if you know what I mean. Like we could just throw it in there, because what I like to do is just like put it into the rotation. You could also not do it if you want, because then you can control whenever you want to use it. Like if you want to use it on a boss, or you know, control it. So it's up to you if you want to use that macro or not, just to get rid of one of your spells on the action bar. So yeah, it's totally up to you. But yeah, at least we found out that that macro actually works. Besides of that, we also have Astral Shift, which is basically just a cooldown for 1.5 minutes, which is going to make you for 12 seconds, you're going to take 40% less damage. Quite a lot of damage reduction, so yeah, it's nice. Then we have Ascendance. Again, as we talked about in the talent section, when you use Ascendance, you explode. Everyone around you, up to 6 people, get Flame Shock on them, and also Lava Burst. And also, you summon this elemental for like 4 or 5 seconds. And now your Lava Burst also has no cooldown, and you can basically, like, yeah, a lot of things happens, because your Elemental Overload is also dealing 150% more increased damage, and whenever this Overload effect happens, where, you know, your spells gets doubled, like now, as you saw that was crazy, it has a chance to, like, double. So, you know, usually when Elemental Overload happens, which is your passive here, you're casting Lightning Ball, it has a chance to sometimes make the Lightning Ball cast 2 Lightning Balls for less damage, but now, because of this talent here, instead of only casting 1 additional lightning ball, it will cast 2 additional lightning ball. And it's not only going to be 35% of the damage normally, it's now going to be increased by 150 this overload effect. So it's just a crazy, it's a really, like, this is what I miss on a lot of the classes we have today in the game. A cooldown that just pops you off. It deals so much damage and it just makes you so overpowered for 18 seconds. And again, as we talked about in the talents, we also have a passive chance that this happens, like you just pop into it like automatically. But yeah, this is your biggest cooldown, basically your strongest cooldown. Let's just test my macro again to see here. So basically pressing 1, and again, it uses it and just throws it into rotation. But I mean, is it worth to use this macro just to remove 1 cooldown on your bar? Probably not. Maybe not, because the annoying thing with using these macros is that you can see here that it doesn't show you which spell you're about to throw. So in case you wanted to learn the rotation, you're not going to see what spell it's going to throw next time. Then of course you could, you know, put this one down here so you can still look at it. But personally, I would probably not use that macro. I'm still going to give you the macro on my Discord. So yeah, in case you want like this talent here, everything, you can go to my Discord, and all the talents and UI and macros going to be over there. But yeah, it's just if you want to like get rid of this talent here, then you get like this button here, then you could technically macro it. But yeah, it's up to you. Then we also have Earth Elemental. It doesn't deal much damage. It just like deals like 4k, 10k, like nothing big. But at least it takes like a taunts, it takes aggro, which can help the tank. Like if the tank is about to die, you could use it and maybe it can help like taunt some of them off. It also increases my health by 50% and also reducing all damage I take by 5% because of this talent here. So yeah. Besides of that, we have Spirit Walker Grace, which basically for 15 seconds you can cast all your spells while moving. So you can see now here, I can basically move and throw all my spells. Pretty cool, right? So yeah, 15 seconds where I can just move, and just throw. So yeah, pretty cool. Don't just use it, save it for situations where you actually need, where the tank is moving or something like that, and you have to like follow, or you're fighting against a boss where he's gonna throw a lot of shit on the ground, and you don't want to stand in it, you have to like keep following. Like for example, we have a dungeon here called, we have, which one was it? It was the Rookery, where for example, we have the Rookery where in this room here, he throws that lightning beam where you have to like follow the lightning beam around. It will be a perfect time to use it when the lightning beams comes, because you can still walk around with the lightning and throw all your spells. So just saving it. We already talked about these two, this one here, basically a mass stun. We talked about this one here, mass interrupt and interrupt. Then we have Earthpine Totem. Basically just makes all of them move very slow. So you can see 50% slow. It's a great spell if you can see your tank is trying to escape some mobs, or your healer is attacked by a lot of mobs, then you could use it on your healer, because then the mobs that is following your healer is going to get slowed. Again, that's just a utility that you can help your team with in situations. It's kind of like up to you. Then we have, of course, Earth Shield, Lightning Shield. We talked about that at the start. You have to throw Earth Shield on yourself and the tank, and Lightning Shield as well on yourself. We also have Poison Cleansing Totem, basically removing poison from everyone. It's overpowered. It's like the best poison removal in the game. We also have Windrush Totem. A lot of people is happy when you use it, because basically it increases your movement speed by 50%. Yeah. Just makes everyone faster. So when you have when something happens like in the raid against Dementius, you know, when you're fighting against Dementius and he's pushing everyone off the edge, and where you have to like move at the same time, it can really like help to make everyone run faster. So for example, stuff like that, or against the fourth boss, I can't remember the fourth boss, what he's called in the raid, but when he also like pushes everyone, you can also use it to like help. You also have Storm Bulwark Totem, which is basically casting a shield. Summon a totem at your feet, grant you an absorb shield, preventing 2.9 million damage, and additionally 300k every 5 seconds. It just gives you like an overpowered strong shield, which is pretty strong, like very strong. We also have Totemic Recall. Basically resets the cooldown of your most recently used totem with a base cooldown shorter than 3 minutes. So basically, if you use, for example, Stone Bulwark Totem and you use the Totemic Recall, it doesn't reduce the cooldown of Stone Bulwark because it has a too long cooldown. But for example, if you use Windrush Totem or the Poison Cleansing Totem, it would reset the cooldown on one of those two, the last one you used, which is pretty cool. Even your Capacitator Totem, the Stun Totem, it would reduce that one. It just needs to have like a shorter cooldown than 3 minutes. So yeah. And the very last spell we have is of course Bloodlust. It's a spell that basically gives you 30% increased haste for 40 seconds, and it can only be used every 10 minutes because you're going to get like a debuff. The cooldown itself only has 5 minutes, but it's basically giving you this debuff here, so you can only have it on for 10 seconds again. But it is an overpowered spell. Basically, if you use it, you will see that you just have so much more haste, and everything is just going to get... Like, look at the cast bar we have. It is moving swiftness fast. So, and you can see right now we're doing 7 million DPS. 7 million AoE DPS on these mobs here. Which is crazy, especially with the shit gear I have on this guy here. But again, I played a lot on Season 1 and 2, so I know what I'm talking about, but yeah. I haven't had the chance to gear this guy yet. Since I'm mostly playing healer and tank at the moment. But that's pretty much the entire rotation. And again, if you want like the talents, if you want the UI I have, you can come to my Discord and you can go down in the room here at the bottom where you can find all the rooms for the different classes and specs, and they will have everything you need in there. So yeah. That's pretty much it. So yeah, that was the rotation, and as you can see here on the agenda, it is now time for the gameplay video where you're going to watch me play a dungeon for 5-10 minutes, and I will talk you through the dungeon and tell you about what I'm doing and what I'm thinking and blah 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 blah. But that was the intro, the stats, the talents, rotation, and gameplay. And again, I mean, woohoo, this was my very first DPS video, since I have only been doing tanking and healing builds, but this was my very first DPS build. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel, you know, join the Discord for more specs, and let me know in the comments what spec you're thinking about. Like, what should I make a spec about next time? Should it be Frost Death Knight, Arcane Mage? What you think? But again, thanks for watching and enjoy the gameplay video that's gonna play in now. Alright, so here we go. We are now playing as Elemental Shaman with the single button rotation. Alright, as we can see, you can see the damage meter down here. So far we have a pretty good start, I would say. We of course have to try automatically attack where all the mobs are, so the single button rotation is automatically using wherever we have like you know, because every time there's a lot of mobs in the area, it will automatically use the single button rotation. Now, in case you saw here that the first thing it always wants to do is using Stormkeeper. When it actually does use a Stormkeeper, it could be sometimes an ID for you. If you can see he's about to pull a lot of more mobs, then wait a little bit. Wait till you actually can see that he got a lot of mobs together, because then it will use 2 very strong chain lightnings instead of wasting it maybe on 2 or 1 mobs that he's about to pull. So when it uses Stormkeeper in the start, maybe, you know, wait just a little second. Now, for example, I can use my Nature's Grasp, but then we can just go. I'm going to use my Earth Elemental to help the tank since we don't have a healer. And now I'm just going to use my Ascendance to do even more damage. Yeah, and as you can see, I did pretty well damage. And a lot of people would say, don't use, you know, single button assistant in a dungeon. But I mean, it's not like my damage is bad with it, so I basically carry the damage so far. And the thing is, like, the single button rotation deals, what is it, like 10 to 20% less damage when it comes to someone who is not using, when it comes to someone who is using their rotation perfect. And I mean, I know myself, I wouldn't anyway use my rotation perfectly anyway, So for me, I wouldn't be surprised if single button actually is gonna do more damage than I would myself. But again, like, pretty solid damage with the single button rotation. Still need to kill the last one. Then we could pre-cast Nature's Swiftness to make the next spell cast, next Nature spell instant. Now we're gonna just stand still and press 1, because we don't really have like any cooldowns to use, so like we don't really have a reason to move. So we're just gonna stand still and cast a lot of spells. Yeah. Actually a better item. Not bad. And again, lightning shield on yourself, earth shield on yourself, earth shield on the tank, and everyone Sky Fury. And then if, for example, you have a situation like this where the tank is moving, you could use Spirit Walker's Grace, because then you can move at the same time while casting, which is quite cool. So for 15 seconds, I can now like move around like this. I actually want to enable gameplay enhancements, cooldown manager. There we go. Then I can see, you know, how long my mobs are on. If you also want this, where you can see these informations, it's in my UI. So when you import my UI, which you can find in the Discord, it will automatically have all this set up for you. But now, again, we don't have any cooldowns to deal more damage, so basically, we're just going to press 1 and do top damage. And I see a lot of people saying, why is this fun? It's not fun. You're not learning your class, blah, 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 stuff like that. And I don't mind. Like, I honestly, I find it funny that my damage is coming from one button, but I have all these utilities I can use. I can stun, I can heal, I can do so much with all my utilities. Like here, boom, just stun them all, like you push them all up. It kind of reminds me like of, I know of like mentioning other games, but it reminds me of some other MMOs where you have basically your main damage spell and utilities. And it's kind of like what it feels like. Now because we're moving, I'm going to use my what is called Spirit Walker's Grace, so now I can move for 15 seconds and just keep casting. Very nice. And again, some good damage. Very nice damage. Just gonna reapply Earth Shield on the tank. Staying still for some damage. It's killing the mobs too fast. I wasn't able to do damage there, it was like killing it too fast. Oh, I could use Earth Shield on myself. There we go. Let's get out some damage. There we go. Now take an item. But yeah, just to give you some commentary. Again, as you saw, basically I'm pressing 1 for the main damage. It's easier than the tank and the healer rotations, because the tank and healer rotation has to use a lot of other spells besides that, so like survive and stuff like that. But with the DPS, Blizzard has literally built everything inside the single button rotation, so it's so much easier to use. And everything else I have is just utilities, like removing poison, healing, so on, so on, so on. All the things I have talked about in the rotation part. There we go. Going to reapply Earth Shield on the tank. Again, you don't have to do this, but it's just like a nice little thing. Now it's want to cast Stormkeeper. Let him pull a bit, and then You know, just let them. We know that our next two chain lightning is going to be instant cast, and now we can do it. And big damage. Very, very nice. Of course, when you use it, it's only going to be on you for like 10 seconds or something like that, you know, so maybe wait a little bit till you actually know he's going to pull, but this time here you saw that I perfectly... He's not going to put down the light. Oh, he's placing the tank. That's smart. Now we can use Ascendance, now we can use Earth Elemental, and then just go fully crazy. There we go. Literally one-shotted. Oh, he used touch. Oh no, okay, it switched. If you saw before on the darkness, we actually did quite good damage. 1.8 million, 1.8 million DPS. I tell you, like, without this, I would never have been able to to make that DPS. Like, if I didn't use this bot on here, I would probably not been able to do that. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed my guide. This was my single button guide for the Elemental Shaman, my very first DPS build. Again, hope you enjoyed it. I had fun recording this, and every time I make these videos, I want to switch main character because they're just super fun. But I hope you like my UI. I hope you like everything about the video. Let me know in the comments what you think. Again, if you want the talent string here, the talent, then go to my Discord. And there will be a room called Elemental Shaman, where there is the code for the talents. And there will also be the code for the UI, so in case you want the same UI as me. So yeah. So, thanks for watching, have a great day, and also let me know in the comments which video should I make next time, what DPS class should I cover next time.